When Americans were asked how much money they do need to retirement, the most common answer is $1 million. Now, of course, retiring a millionaire does make sense in a lot of locations, and it is a very popular goal to go ahead and see that seven-figure sum that we all love to see. But of course, is $1 million enough to retire? That short answer is really depends, and that's what we're going to be looking at in today's video. When you look at $1 million, some places it does go a lot of distance, some places not so much. So there are a lot of different factors providing stability and comfort for Americans if you have $1 million. And of course, if you can get to that $1 million level. Now, when we look at the average retirement savings, it's about $175,000, $180,000 is the average when it comes to retirement, meaning though those balances are far below what Americans think that they do need to retire. And for a lot of individuals, they don't even need $1 million. And for the other side of it, there's ones that $1 million is definitely not going to be enough. Now, of course, one of the most important concepts is that it is necessary about how much money you save and the income that you can generate. This is the big thing. So when we think of Social Security, when you think of the supplemental program that we offer through the government, it is meant to replace roughly 40% of your income. This is the reason why when it comes to retirement, you are going to have to change your entire financial plan when you finally do hit retirement. Because again, if you're only supplementing 40% of your retirement, and if you do only have Social Security income, chances are that 40% that is supposed to be will now be 100% of the income that you do have. Now, of course, many retirement planners go for the 4% rule. This is something that we've actually looked at before. So what this rule essentially says, so looking at our $1 million portfolio, which we have in retirement, is we can take out 4% every year. So we can take out $40,000 out of that portfolio every single year and leaving the portfolio fully intact. Technically or theoretically, the portfolio should grow faster than that 4%, meaning that even though you're taking out 4%, you're not touching that principal balance, which of course, again, depending on where you live and a multitude of factors, it can really make a big impact on how much you have to take out in relationship to how much you should really take out. Now, of course, this is just a general guide for kind of the planning purpose, taking that money out. And you also have to remember with the 4% rule, there can be also adjustments for inflation. So if we're running an 8% inflation, chances are that things are getting exponentially more expensive. The cost of living increase and also the location has a good chance of running out of money during retirement if you are sticking to that 4% rule, or essentially not having enough and having to take 5%, 7%, 8%, 10% and depleting those retirement funds before you wanted to. So again, when you think of that $1 million savings, roughly 40,000 you can take out every single year and still leave that $1 million in there. Now, of course, that is also looking at a multiple income stream, which means you might have that investment account with $1 million. You could have a side hustle. You could have a part-time job. You could have that Social Security income. You could be getting interest. You could be getting dividend income. There could be a bunch of different ways. A lot of older individuals, the baby boomer generation, also does have pensions, as well as some government programs that do offer additional income streams in addition to Social Security. So again, when we think of big picture, if you have that $1 million nest egg, you're pulling out your $40,000. Let's say you have $25,000 a year from Social Security. Your spouse has $25,000 a year from Social Security. That will put you at a $90,000 average wage, which again, for a lot of individuals, that is going to be just fine. For some individuals, that is not going to make it at all. There are some very, very important key things when it comes to retirement and when it comes to income streams. It doesn't really tell the entire story of what you do have in those investment accounts, because some of the biggest things that we look at is number one, your assets. When you think of assets, this can really reduce the amount of retirement that you need. When you look at a portfolio, that can be sold, which is great. But if you do have other assets, let's say you have paid off vehicles, let's say you have a paid off home, let's say you have rental properties, there could be a ton of things that are additional assets that are really contributing to your asset allocation that you could sell in the need. That way you do and can raise additional funds. Looking at the cost of living, this is where it gets really dicey, because when you think of $1 million, let's say you're in, South Carolina, you're in North Carolina, you're in Arkansas, you're in, one of the states down south. $1 million is definitely going to carry you for a substantial amount of time. Let's say you're in Florida, you're in California, you're in New York. Chances are that $1 million is not going to go quite as far. So again, the destination, I know there's been a lot of articles lately about where is the best place in the United States to retire, really based on the money that you have and also based on how much you're going to get from Social Security, because the cost of living can vary greatly from really state to state. Me personally, when we lived down in North Carolina, a 5-bedroom house on the ocean was relatively cheap, around $1,200 a month, which was kind of crazy because right now they would be about $3,000-$4,000, and that's in the last 20, yeah, about 20 years, that we have seen the prices just exponentially skyrocket when it comes to the mortgage and when it comes to the real estate, where good luck finding that. Even here in Michigan, where I am now, it's about $1,200 to $1,400 for a 1-bedroom apartment. You're looking at about $1,850 for a 2-bedroom apartment, which is super expensive. And again, when you think of the cost of living, depending on where you are, that can make a big difference. And the biggest one that I see, the number one priority, is going into retirement, regardless of the balance you have in that retirement account, with debt. That is one of the biggest things. So when I see individuals that are going from a full-time 9-to-5 job, moving into the retirement realm, if they don't have a pension, they have some retirement income. Let's say they are starting to get Social Security. They're going in there. They are owing money on their cars. I mean, we're talking $6, $7, $8, $1,000 a month car payments that they are moving from a 9-to-5 job that they regularly work into that retirement. And also the biggest thing that I see is the mortgage. If you're going into retirement and you have a full mortgage, you need to ensure that that is going to be paid when getting into retirement. Because again, if you're going to a fixed income like Social Security, and this is again what I see a lot, is let's say your mortgage payment's $1,500, you're going to Social Security, that mortgage payment is taking up about 30 to 50% of individual Social Security, which leaves you a very, very small bucket to live on. And if Social Security is your only means of income, and that is the only thing, so you don't have retirement savings, you don't have a pension, you don't have, a 401k, you don't have anything of that nature, chances are that you are going to be broke for the rest of your life, for the simple fact that that home still has a higher balance, that home still has a big payment. Of course, you can refinance, you can look at other things to free up some cash flow. But again, one of the biggest hurdles that I see is going into retirement with debt. If you're going into retirement with credit card debt, really need to side hustle, really need a second job, really need something to eliminate that debt and not accumulate it. Now, of course, that is going to mean looking at your budget, your spending plan, making sure that you're allocating the funds that you do have in the appropriate manner. If not, you're going to be carrying debt forever during retirement, which of course is not going to make the greatest retirement. If you want to travel, if you want to do things in retirement, if you got grandkids, all of that really takes a priority. And unfortunately, if you don't have the money to support what you want to do during retirement, you have to make some really, really strong adjustments. The bottom line here, guys, when you think of retiring with $1 million, it does sound great for a lot of different people, but making sure that you do not have debt, making sure that you have other income is going to be a different really picture for a lot of different people. And of course, depending if you live in high cost areas with a significant monthly obligation with all of those bills, even $1 million could be inadequate in the savings. But of course, when you look at the framework, you really do have to build it out yourself and see exactly what you're going to qualify for, what your spending plan looks like, and making sure that you know where your money is going. That is the thing that I see a lot of people don't have a budget, don't have a spending plan. They don't have anything. They have no clue exactly what they're spending on a month-to-month basis, which is kind of scary because you are the only one that is responsible for it. It's time to take accountability with your finances, and I'll catch you in the next video.